All right, so today I want to talk about something not at all controversial, which is that the rudiments aren't as important as everyone says they are, and how they were never designed for drum set players to begin with. And now that everyone is sufficiently riled up, I want to just clarify by saying I am no rudiment hater. I have gone through all my rudiments, I've taught the rudiments, I continue to teach the rudiments, and I definitely don't think they're of no importance. In fact, I put out a book that's based on the paradiddle. So I'm no stranger to rudiments, but I want to push back on a specific claim that commonly gets thrown around, which is that the rudiments are the most important part of our drumming, or that our common language on the drum set is entirely or even mostly based on the rudiments. And it's easy to understand why this misnomer would come about, because we call them rudiments. And if you take that literally, then yeah, you would assume that they are foundational, or that they are a fundamental piece of what we play on the drum set. And in a small way, I suppose they are, but in a much more fundamental way, they really aren't. And to understand this, we can first just look at the genesis of the rudiments and how they came to be. The rudiments are much older than the drum set, and they were designed with a snare drummer in mind. And in fact, they were designed, from what we know as the original 13 to the 26 to the international 40 that we know now. Those were developed all over the world and over a long period of time in multiple different styles of snare and marching drumming. And none of that had anything to do with the drum set all along its genesis. Now, the rudiments were designed originally for snare drummers to make sure that they all had a common codex and common stickings, so that they were playing the right accent patterns together and that they were playing the right motions together, so that their stickings would line up. So there was a visual component to it as well. Again, none of this really having anything to do with the drum set. Now, you might be complaining at this point and saying, well, okay, even though the rudiments were never designed for the drum set, that doesn't mean that they aren't useful to drum set players. And that's absolutely true. I completely agree that the rudiments can be very useful on the drum set and that I use them all the time. But that does not mean that they are any sort of fundamental part of what we play on the drum set. And in fact, the first few years, I think, of most people's drumming experience, they may not play a single rudiment. And in fact, this one may be even more controversial, but I think a lot of our favorite drummers, especially rock drummers that are out there, aren't using any rudiments at all when they're playing. And this isn't a bad thing. Like, I'm not bagging on those drummers at all. I'm just saying that I don't think what we call the rudiments are in fact rudimental on the drum set. Now, an interesting question I think this brings up is, if the rudiments aren't the foundational vocabulary of the drum set, then what is? What are our letters in this language? What is comparable on drum set to what scales are on a melodic instrument? And I don't have the answer to this question, and I'm hoping that you guys might be able to chime in and give me your ideas and thoughts. But the first thing that comes to mind is whatever vocabulary we decide is foundational to the drum set needs to acknowledge at least three-way coordination. So I'm talking about the bass drum here. And just like how rudimental drumming acknowledges your right and left hand, the bass drum is so fundamental and so important to all of the coordination that's important to us on the drum set, that whatever vocabulary or whatever scales we'd be making up for the drum set, whatever foundational pieces there are, would have to somehow incorporate the bass drum. In addition to that, we would also have to somehow acknowledge unison playing, because as soon as you start playing a basic rock beat, immediately you're met with unison notes that aren't captured in the regular snare drum rudiments and would somehow have to be acknowledged in whatever we were designing for the drum set. Now, I'm not exactly sure what shape this would take, but I feel like our starting place with these drum set rudiments would have to be some of the foundational linear pattern components, like right kick, right, left, kick, kick. Because not only do these make great linear patterns and chops and fills, but there's so much more than that if we really think about playing a groove like well, as soon as you go right, then you're playing right hand and right foot, and then right hand and kick. So that's a right kick right there. We might also add in some unisons, like right hand and left hand at the same time, or right hand and right foot at the same time. But I'm just sort of riffing off the top of my head here of what the drum set specific rudiments would look like, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this and what you think drum set rudiments would look like. So just to kind of wrap things up and clarify, once again, I don't think that the rudiments are unimportant. I just think that they are less important than a lot of people make them out to be. That doesn't excuse you from learning the rudiments. I still think that they are very important and very useful tools, even on the drum set. I just think that if we're trying to get at what is our foundational vocabulary here on the drum set, that we're gonna have to look elsewhere. So let me know what you think. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.